Good afternoon, students. So today's video, I'm going to do a wrap-up of week 5. So I've done the wrap-up for weeks 1 through 4, so I might as well do the wrap-up for week 5. So next week is week 6, so you have 2 more weeks left of this class. So next week, in week 6, you should order the books for your next class. Can you believe that? And start to think about what you're going to be doing for week 6. Now, week 6, you have 3 assignments. You are going to do the week 6 forum. It's going to be called the Quote Reflection. And in the Quote Reflections week 6 forum, you are going to choose from 12 writers. And you're going to choose which writer. You're going to choose one citation. And then you're going to choose the one citation you relate to the most. And then you're going to write about how or why you identify with that citation. And so I gave a sample example in which Geraldine Brooks said that, I think that was her name, that we always write what we know best. We always write what we know. That was her citation. And then I wrote, out of all of the 12 writers in that article, I identify most with Geraldine Brooks when she says that we should write what we know. When I write my Asian American short stories, I write about my family and I write about what I know. And only I can write about my story in that same manner. So for me, I like to, what inspires my writing is when I write what I know. And that, for me, is the root of a lot of mine. So basically, the Quote Reflection is a forum about what inspires you to write. Why do you like writing? And these 12 writers is giving you new writers, advice on how to write, on how to become inspired to write. And when I say writing, it means they're talking mainly about creative writing. In other words, writing stories, short stories. And many of you have told me that in this class, all we do is talk about essays and 5-paragraph essay structure. Well, this week, we're going to do more about creative writing. And so all of these authors have written creative stories. And they were all asked or interviewed. And what is it that inspires you to write? And each author gave a quotation of what it is that inspires them to write. And so for Geraldine Brooks, she said that she likes to write what she knows. Now, other authors just say equate writing with exercise or with, so there are other quotations you can also choose. So choose the quotation or the citation you identify most, and in which what inspires you to write. Okay, so that's basically, so here are the questions. What inspired these writers to write? What was their muse? Why do they love writing? What kept them writing? What advice do they give for new writers? So you just choose one writer that you identify with and write about that. This is known as reader response. You're going to be doing a lot more of this when you take English 105. Choose a quotation you identify with. So that's pretty much, the week 6 forum is to talk about what inspires you to write and which writer you identify with the most. Then the week 6 quiz is about APA. And so you can go over my week 6 quiz APA video, and you can go over before you and also watch the APA video that's in the quiz. And so APA, just a short little snippet, APA stands for American Psychological Association. And when we cite numbers, statistics, historical facts, and any kind of percentages, dollars, medical facts, scientific facts, any kind of unknown knowledge, you have to cite the source. There are 2 kinds of quotations. You have direct quote, where you cite the person, verbatim. This is most obvious if you're using numbers. So if you're going to say 55% of people love to drink beer. So if you're going to use that number, 55%, you're citing somebody verbatim. So therefore you would have to put quotation marks around your citation, keep it to less than 3 lines, and then write in the author, date, and page number. Now if I want to, the second kind of citation is a paraphrase citation, where you summarize or put in your own words the direct quote. And a student asked me, well, how do you summarize something? So basically what you do is you pretend that you're going to phone your best friend, and your best friend asks you, what is that article about? What does that citation mean? And so you would have to find a simpler way of saying, so instead of saying 55% of Americans love to drink beer, you might want to say something like, well, it seems as if that direct quote, if I were to paraphrase it, would be a little more than half of Americans love to drink this kind of beer. Now, you don't have to use the word beer. You can, and if you want to find other ways of saying things without sounding redundant, you can look up the Roget's Thesaurus, or you can go to Quillbot. That's actually a website that students have told me helps them summarize and do paraphrasing. So it's Quillbot, Quillbot. Yeah, that's the name of it. And it's AI, it's actually artificial intelligence. So you have a robot helping you learn how to write, which is the same thing as Grammarly also, is a robot that helps you with your grammar. So artificial intelligence to the rescue. Anyway, getting back to your quiz. So whenever we cite a source, okay, and when we cite a paraphrase source, paraphrase quote, then we write in the author's name, the date, and we don't need the quotation marks. And when we cite something, you always want to say something like, according to Dr. Smith, and then you write in the date, then you write your quotation marks, and then you write in the page number. And always have some kind of signal phrase. Dr. Smith states, according to Dr. Smith. And also use third person case. Do not use, I think that half of Americans all drink beer. Well, that's incorrect. And you'll find that it's incorrect on your quiz too. They tell you to steer away from I think, I believe, in my opinion. In this paper we will discuss all of that. So no first person case, no second person case. Just like I've been telling you, it's not like I just made it up off the top of my head. This is a rule that, from English, blame it on the Brits. That's what I would say. But anyway, so all you have to do, so steer away from third person, first and second person case, and use only third person case in your essay, in your in-text citation. And also when you write your in-text citation, be as specific as possible. So it has to be factual, objective, and third person case off the top of my head. But I give a very good explanation, so you should, in my week 6 quiz video, and so you should look that up and tell me how you like the week 6 quiz video, if it helped you with your quiz. Because if it didn't, if you saw some weaknesses, then you can tell me about it so I can make a better video for the next English 101 class. All right, so you've got an APA quiz, and then you also have your persuasive essay part 2. So remember, in week 3, I believe, week 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, you're doing the persuasive essay part 2. And, oh, that's right, 2, 4, 6, yeah. So you had the pre-writing in week 4, right? And in pre-writing, so there are 3 stages to the writing process: pre-writing, writing, and rewriting. And so in week 4, you did the part 1 pre-writing, where you filled out the outline. And then now in part 2, Persuasive Essay Part 2, what you have to do is now transform your outline into a rough draft. And so what you need to do is write a 5-paragraph essay, 5 paragraphs. Make sure that your intro has a hook, 5 background sentences, a thesis statement, and make sure that your thesis statement is not a question. Okay, it has to be a sentence located at as the last sentence of the first paragraph. Then each of your 3 reasons will become your body paragraphs, and your topic sentences needs to align with your thesis statement. Then in your conclusion, you will restate your thesis statement and summarize your essay in your conclusion. And so the errors that I saw so far, the most common errors in the Persuasive Essay Part 1, okay, so Persuasive Essay Part 1, the most common errors that you need to fix is your thesis statement needs to be the last. It cannot be a question. You cannot put a question at the end of your first paragraph. You can put the question to your hook if you want, but not in the end of your paragraph. So your thesis statement always needs to be a sentence, and that sentence states the main idea of your essay. You have the topic, opinion, and reasons. And this week we talked about what is an effective thesis statement, in which a thesis statement has a what and a why. And so you got the what, which is the topic and the opinion, and then the why. And so put that as your last sentence of the first paragraph, and then the first sentence of the last paragraph. And each paragraph needs to have 5 to 7 sentences. So some of you have paragraphs that were way too long or way too short. So try to keep it to 5 to 7 sentences. You need to double space, and don't forget to double space your paper. And you double space your paper by selecting all of the text, and then you press Control-2. That's how you double space your paper. And then you make sure your topic sentences relate back to your thesis. Use third-person case. Some of you still have you and your and I and my and that sort of thing. So make sure that your in-text citations, if you're using them, and your entire paper is in third-person case. And if you still don't know what third-person case is, I advise a couple of students to write about what your spouse does during a normal day. That's third-person cases. When you write about what somebody does, or you report about what someone else thinks, that's third-person case. You can even try writing about yourself in third-person case, just to practice third-person case. So we use third-person case because we want to sound more professional. And we use first, and this is we discussed in week 3, and then we use first and second person case when we write to friends and family. And then we use third person case, formal English, when we write to our boss or our teacher. So that's pretty much wraps up the most common mistakes. Double space your paper. And indent 5 spaces, the first line of every paragraph. And when you write your in-text citations, don't put the web address in the in-text inside the text. The web address and everything else goes in your references at the end of your paper. So the differences between references and in-text citation is that references go at the end of the paper, in-text citations are in the middle of the paper. And so when you write your reference citation, you want to write the author's name, the date, italicize the article name, then the publication, then the date you retrieved, the source, and then the website address. So that pretty much sums up what you're going to do for your week 6 assignments. So right now we're getting to the very end. You should be done with your illustrative essay. That's finished. and now you're at the heart of your second essay, and your final draft is due week 8. And so if I gave you a template to follow, you can follow that template for your week 8 essay. And then for your week 8 essay, I'm just going to grade your grammar, because I'm going to assume that all of the essay structure is already done, because we already went through the outline, the pre-writing and the writing. That's all for essay structure. So then the last thing we're going to work on when I grade your week 8 final draft will be grammar. So grammar is always the last thing we do. And that's what we're going to also discuss in week 7, is different ways to revise our paper. So once you get your rough draft back, and that would be in week 7, week 7, then you are going to revise your rough draft for your final draft, which is the final stage of the writing process. So we're getting there. You're almost done with this class, and you're at the stage where you can be buying books for your next class. So that's got to be exciting. Congratulations on finishing and getting this far in this class. So if you have any questions, you can always email me.